Hello, everyone. Today's story takes us to a night when fireworks lit the sky in celebration. But something far more sinister was hiding in the shadows. Families thought they were safe. Children laughed with sparklers in their hands. Yet in the silence between each explosion, footsteps echoed that did not belong. Tonight, you'll discover how a holiday of freedom turned into a night of terror that no one saw coming. The night of the 4th of July carried with it a deceptive beauty, the kind that lures the mind into a false sense of comfort. Across the neighborhood, families gathered in their yards, laughter and chatter floating in the humid summer air. Children darted between the shadows, sparklers in hand, their tiny voices echoing like innocent bells against the deepening dusk. Fireworks erupted above, booming and painting the sky with fleeting colors that seemed to defy the night itself. Beneath those bursts of red, white, and blue, the earth seemed alive with festivity. But hidden within the celebration was an unsettling rhythm that did not belong. It was as though the shadows between the houses moved just a little too freely, bending and stretching where no light touched. The noise of the holiday muffled every small sound, masking the things that no one thought to listen for. In that din of celebration, footsteps could echo without notice, and eyes could stare from the dark without ever being caught. For every rocket that exploded in the heavens, there came a momentary flash that revealed what darkness had tried to hide. Curtains twitched in windows where no one stood. Doors remained ajar in homes where everyone had gathered outside, and fleeting glimpses of movement lingered in the corners of vision. Yet no one paid it any mind, for the night was one meant for joy, not suspicion. People trusted the occasion to shield them from danger, believing the closeness of neighbors and the noise of fireworks to be safety enough. It was this trust that allowed the night to breathe with something far colder, an intrusion that thrived under distraction. Amid the cheering, an unfamiliar figure slipped between groups unnoticed, moving as if they belonged, blending seamlessly into the background. While children shrieked with delight at every firework, the figure studied them with an unnatural stillness, more intent on the shadows than the light. The figure lingered at the edge of a backyard, silent, watching as the glow of sparklers painted faces with fleeting light. The smoke from fireworks curled into the sky, mingling with the scent of grilled food, but beneath those comforting smells was a faint odor of damp earth, as if something had risen from the ground itself. It crept unnoticed into the air, unnoticed except by those who stopped and breathed long enough to sense the unease it carried. Even the animals sensed it. Dogs barked without cause, ears pressed flat as they growled at empty corners of the yard. The figure's presence remained cloaked in secrecy, and the holiday celebration was the perfect camouflage, each sound of a firework covering the rustle of steps that did not belong. The crowd's attention, lifted skyward, gave the ground to something else entirely, something patient and deliberate. As the evening deepened, children grew tired, their energy spent from chasing the glow of sparklers and leaping at the sound of firecrackers. One by one, families began to retreat inside, their doors closing softly against the humid air, though many left windows cracked open for the breeze. Laughter grew muffled as voices moved indoors, the fireworks outside continuing like thunder from another world. The figure shifted then, no longer watching from the periphery, but gliding closer, steps measured and slow. The last bursts of daylight faded into a darkness punctuated only by the intermittent glow of fireworks, each flash illuminating the figure's stillness for a fraction of a second, before it vanished once more into shadow. It was in those brief glimpses that its presence became undeniable, though no one yet realized it. The night had grown heavier, pressing against the skin, as though the very air knew something was wrong. Inside one of the homes, the faint sound of the television hummed beneath the echo of fireworks outside. Children dozed on couches, their faces bathed in the flicker of a screen, while adults lingered by windows, still admiring the bursts of color across the sky. Yet, not every window revealed only the sky. Some reflected movement that could not be explained. The figure had found its way closer, standing where the light of the house cast long shadows into the yard. It remained still, as though waiting for a cue for the moment when distraction reached its peak. The louder the fireworks, the bolder the steps became, slipping past fences and hedges, closer and closer to the warmth of the house. The celebration had left people blind, their joy a veil that concealed the slow unraveling of their safety. The final series of fireworks erupted in the sky, the largest of the night, painting the heavens in a cascade of colors that drew gasps from every throat. Eyes lifted upward, hearts raced with excitement, and in that distraction, the figure reached the very threshold of the home. A door left unlocked in carelessness gave way with a whisper, and the house seemed to inhale as something foreign crossed its boundary. The noise outside drowned the creak of wood beneath careful steps, the shuffle of movement that threaded itself into the silence between television static and muffled laughter. The children stirred faintly, perhaps sensing the change in the air, though none awoke. Fireworks boomed like drums of war, covering every sound that might have warned of danger. When the last firework faded, silence descended like a curtain, sudden and heavy, leaving only the faint ringing of ears in its wake. It was in that silence that the intrusion revealed itself, the absence of sound carrying a weight that pressed against the chest. Every shadow seemed longer than before, every corner darker, and the hum of the television felt inadequate against the suffocating quiet. Something had shifted, something unseen but undeniable, as though the house itself was holding its breath. The dogs outside barked again, but this time no one paid attention, too weary from celebration to notice the warning. The night had changed, and with it came the realization that the glow of fireworks had not been enough to keep the dark at bay. The figure stood within the house, patient, deliberate, absorbing every detail of the silence that followed the celebration. The fireworks had ended, but for those inside, the night was only beginning. Somewhere between the echoes of joy and the encroaching silence, the celebration had been stolen, replaced by an unease that no one could yet put into words. The air was too still, the shadows too thick, and the weight of the night too heavy to ignore. The 4th of July had promised freedom, but it had delivered something else entirely. A reminder that behind every burst of light lies a darkness waiting to be noticed,